I recently watched a video by Sarah's Day, and something that she said really resonated with me. No one cares about your health as much as you do. I may be paraphrasing her a little, but you get the point. I truly believe in that statement. For over 10 years now, I have struggled with low iron, and today I wanted to sit down and share my story in hopes that it may help someone watching this video. Hey there, welcome back to Newfound Dreamer, where I help you create the life of your dreams. In today's video, I wanted to share with you the story of my struggle with low iron, when I was first diagnosed, what has worked, what hasn't, and what I plan to do about it going forward. But first, I wanted to provide a little disclaimer. As many of you may know, I am a corporate accountant. I am not a medical professional. The point of this video is to share with you my story. If you are experiencing the symptoms of low iron or have been diagnosed with low iron, I highly recommend that you seek out the help of a medical professional. I was first diagnosed with low iron back in 2009. At the time, I was experiencing very low energy levels. And when I did a search online, I realized that I basically ticked off all the boxes for the symptoms of low iron. I was fatigued, I had low energy, I was intolerant to the cold, I had poor concentration, I had brittle nails, I was experiencing hair loss, and I had intense cravings for ice. So I booked an appointment with my doctor and got a referral for blood work. When my blood work results came back, my doctor and I were not surprised. I had low iron. I do not remember my iron levels at the time, but I know that they were really low. And my doctor recommended that I start taking iron supplement immediately. I followed my doctor's recommendation and I started taking an iron supplement. For the next few years, I tested out a variety of iron supplements. I hate to admit it, but I was not taking my iron supplements on a regular basis. All of the supplements that I had tried were hurting my stomach, and some days I chose not to take my iron supplement so that I could experience relief from the stomach pain. I got my iron levels tested every 3 to 6 months, and it should come as no surprise, but my iron levels did not improve. Fast forward to the summer of 2011. I had strep throat, and as a result, I became anemic. Since my iron levels hadn't improved over the past 2 years, my doctor decided that it was time to refer me to a hematologist. I met with my hematologist in the fall of 2011, and part of my treatment plan included receiving iron intravenously every 2 weeks until my iron and hemoglobin levels improved. After a few months, my iron levels improved and were within normal range, and shortly after, my hemoglobin levels were back to normal as well. Once my hemoglobin levels were back to normal, I received another 1 to 2 treatments, and then my hematologist told me that I no longer required iron infusions. Within a few months, my low iron symptoms returned. I booked an appointment with my doctor, had my blood work done, and sure enough, my iron levels had decreased and I now had low iron again. So this continued on for several years. I was still trying out various iron supplements, but my iron levels never really improved. So back in 2015, I decided to book an appointment with a naturopath. And I still follow all of her recommendations to this day. It is because of that naturopath that I finally found an iron supplement that I can tolerate. She recommended the iron supplement Floridix, which is a liquid iron supplement. I find it easy on my stomach and it does not cause me any stomach pain whatsoever. And I have taken it on a daily basis or pretty much every day since she recommended it to me. Some of her other recommendations included starting my day with lemon water, drinking nettle tea, and taking a vitamin C supplement. For the next few years, I did not see much improvement in my iron levels. I got my iron levels checked about 3 to 4 times a year, and my iron levels range from the high teens to the low 30s. Last year, I met with my doctor to discuss my low iron and my frustration with not being able to improve my iron levels because I was still experiencing a lot of those same symptoms that I had mentioned earlier on this video. After having a conversation with my doctor about my history, she decided that it was time that I try receiving iron intravenously again. So we booked an appointment and I had my first appointment. It went well. I experienced some odd pains and just a very weird feeling after that first appointment. Unknown to me at that time, I was having a mild allergic reaction, a very mild allergic reaction. We got my blood work tested after that first iron infusion. My iron levels did not change from that one appointment, so my doctor decided that every 2 weeks I would get an iron infusion, at least for the next few months, and then we'd reevaluate. So my second appointment was in July of 2019. I got hooked up to an IV. I was receiving the iron drip. About 40 minutes into my appointment, I started experiencing shooting pains in my back. I didn't think anything of it at the time. I was just started readjusting myself, but then they got worse. And I started having difficulty breathing. I was sweating profusely, and I didn't really realize it at the time. Like, I think I was a little out of it, but I remember looking down at my arm and seeing hives around where my IV was too. And at the time, I didn't really realize they were hives. I remember looking down at my arm and thinking, that's odd. Why are there bumps all over my arm? So that's when I kind of realized that something's not right. So I start calling out to the nurse, and the nurse comes in, realizes what's happening, and disconnects my IV. A few minutes after that are a little fuzzy, but I vaguely remember 2 nurses talking to me, putting cold cloths on me, trying to keep me from passing out. They actually laid me back in the chair that I was sitting in. They reclined the back and laid me in the chair. And after, I guess, a few minutes, I started to come to, and they told me that I was having an allergic reaction to the iron that I was receiving intravenously. So they put me in a wheelchair and brought me down to Emerge, where I was hooked up to Benadryl drip through IV, and the doctor gave me steroids. I can't remember what they were at the time, but he gave me 2 pills and told me to take them, which I did. And I was monitored for the next hour or so before I was released and allowed to go home. But the doctor in Emerge told me that I should never get iron through IV again. And if I did, like if my doctor decided that that was the correct course of action to take, then I would need to be monitored the entire time. And before that, I would need to receive steroids and be monitored throughout. Basically, receiving iron infusions were no longer an option for me. So my one hope of or what I thought at the time was my one hope in improving my iron levels just disappeared. So I was back to being very, very frustrated. And for the next week or so, I remember spending a lot of time crying because I was just upset. Like I felt like it was never going to improve, and I was at a loss as to what my next steps were. At that point, it was 10 years that I had been struggling with low iron, and I just wanted answers. I wanted to know why I was struggling with low iron. I wanted to know why I was no longer improving, and I felt like I had no answers and that I was no further along than I was 10 years ago. So this is kind of where my story takes a turn. I realized exactly what I said at the beginning and what Sarah said in her video. No one cares about my health as much as I do. And it is my responsibility to find a solution. I had to stop relying on my doctor for that solution. Yes, I would still be seeking out my doctor's help and advice and be getting my iron levels monitored, but I started researching and looking for alternative ways to improve my iron. Shortly after this happened, I had a conversation with someone and they recommended that I stop taking hormonal birth control pills, and that it is possible that the hormonal birth control pills that I was taking were actually interfering with my iron and could be the cause of my low iron. So I had this discussion with my doctor and she did not feel that it was causing my low iron. But it got me thinking. I was diagnosed with low iron in 2019, a few months after I started taking hormonal birth control pills. And I originally started taking birth control pills to regulate my cycle. But a few months later, I started feeling the symptoms of low iron. It was not something that I experienced before I started taking hormonal birth control. So I started to question whether or not I should still be taking them. I had the discussion with my husband and he was very supportive and said that I need to do what's right for my health. So it's now December of 2019 and I am about to start my next cycle of birth control pills. And I'm looking down at this package and I can't get myself to open them. I decided then and there that I was done. I was no longer going to be taking hormonal birth control pills if there was any possibility whatsoever that they could be the cause of my low iron. So in December of 2019, my iron levels were 33, which was pretty good compared to some of the numbers I had received in the past. It's back into what some consider normal range, but it's also in the suboptimal range. I was still experiencing symptoms of low iron even though I was in normal range. And I say normal with air quotes because I don't necessarily agree with what is considered normal range. And like I said, I am not a medical professional, but when I was in normal range of 33, I was still experiencing low energy, fatigue. I had sensitivity or intolerance to cold. Still experiencing hair loss. I still have brittle nails. I still had the majority of the symptoms of low iron. So I got my blood work checked again in March of 2020, so March of this year. And my ferritin levels were 44, which is the highest my ferritin levels have been in over 10 years, with the exception of the period of time in 2011, early 2012, when I was receiving iron intravenously to improve my iron and hemoglobin levels after being diagnosed with anemia. I felt like I was finally on the right track. I was finally doing something right, and that there was a connection between my birth control and low iron. My energy levels finally felt like they were improving. I did not feel fatigued all the time. I was doing Sarah's Days 16-week program and loving it, and I felt like I had a lot of energy even though some of her workouts are pretty intense. I felt like I was crushing my workouts, and my hair and my nails felt like they were getting stronger. My concentration was improving, and my symptoms of low iron seemed like they were disappearing. But unfortunately, in July of 2020, so July of this year, I ended up getting a really sore throat. And at first my doctor and I thought that I might have strep throat. I had strep throat in the past and it seemed like I had all the same symptoms. Then my strep throat test came back negative and we just assumed that I had a very bad throat infection that was kind of mimicking strep throat. So as antibiotics for a period of 10 days, my throat started getting better, but my energy levels did not. My workouts weren't as good. And then a little while after I finished my antibiotics, I started experiencing some digestive issues, and my doctor questioned whether or not I may have had gastro. You know, this is all going on during the pandemic, so I didn't actually get to see my doctor when I was experiencing the issue. And when I did get to talk to my doctor, it was via phone call. My doctor said that I may have had gastro. I told her that my energy levels had not improved. Some of the digestive issues that I have were ongoing. It is actually possible that the antibiotics caused some gut issues, which resulted in having some digestive issues. But my energy levels and everything else that have been a result made her start to question whether or not I had mono, which there wasn't really a test that I could do to say, yes, I had mono. The only test that I could do at this point in time was a test to find out if I had mono. And if that test came back positive, it just meant that I had mono in the past. So I haven't had that test done. I do plan on getting that test done because it took me about 7 weeks or so to really recover from the time that I actually started having the sore throat to a little over a week ago when I felt like, okay, I'm finally returning back to my normal self. It was about 7 to 8 weeks. And my doctor had told me that it takes about 6 weeks or so for the recovery of mono. So it is possible that that's what I had. I cannot confirm whether or not I did. But unfortunately, I got my blood work done at the end of July. So after all of this had happened, and my ferritin levels were now 29. After stopping taking birth control pills, I had increased to a high of 44. Felt like my symptoms were disappearing. I got sick and my iron level, or my ferritin levels, dropped back to 29, which was lower than when I got tested in December. So I still believe that there was a connection between my hormonal birth control and my iron levels, which is why I seen an improvement after I stopped taking them. But I got sick and I believe that that resulted in the decrease. So I am still not taking hormonal birth controls to help improve my iron levels, but there are some other things that I am doing to try to improve my iron levels. So I am still taking Floridix liquid iron supplement. I am also taking a multivitamin with iron in it, and I use a cast iron frying pan. Not always, but I try to use it when I am frying something. My sister recently gave me a Lucky Iron fish, so I make iron water every week to add to my greens drink that I make in the morning, which does contain iron. So basically I have increased my iron intake, and that was a recommendation of my doctor. She did recommend that I start taking more iron. So I am continuing to drink my nettle tea. I try to take my iron with vitamin C. So with lemon water or with my greens drink in the morning, I am consuming more leafy green vegetables, more vegetables that have iron in it. I do eat red meat about once a week, and I'm just really watching, I guess, my iron intake to make sure that I am consuming optimal levels of iron on a daily basis. I am going to continue to get my iron levels tested every about 3 months or so. Today I just really wanted to sit down and share with you my story in hopes that it helps someone, because when I have searched for content about low iron, it seems like it's the same thing over and over again, and I just thought I would share my perspective, what I have gone through, because I don't think I'm the only person that is going through this, and if this video can help someone else, then I feel like it is my duty to share my experience. So that basically covers my 11-year struggle with low iron. I plan to keep you updated in the future when I find out what's working and what's not working. If you have any recommendations for improving iron levels, let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Please hit that subscribe button because it helps support my channel. And remember to do one thing today that will help you create the life of your dreams. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Some of our other recommendations included, I want to combine including and included. Why can't I just say included? I recently watched